you start your first business? How did and what inspired that?
Well, the first startup where I could actually call myself a co-founder, I was paired up typically in the early days with business people. So I met a guy, I was introduced to a guy in 1998, I think, who was an advertising guy. He came from the traditional advertising world, and he, in his career, was suddenly faced with buying ads and ad campaigns on the internet. And so he found that in the offline world, there were books you could buy and data you could get in printed form, which would sort of tell you approximately who was advertising what and where across TV and radio and other traditional media. Well, no such thing existed for the internet. There was no way to know who was advertising what and where on the internet. Again, late 90s. And so, being a software guy and a creative guy, I got introduced to this business person, and we put our heads together, brought in a few other co-founders, and built the first online advertising measurement service. We basically would crawl around to different websites, looking for things, HTML objects and so forth that looked like advertisements, and we'd pull them down, and then we would try to classify them. This is an ad about computer hardware, or this is an ad about a service, or what have you. And so we built this service and system, and got venture backing and started getting customers. And next thing you know, we were acquired by ultimately by Nielsen Net Ratings.
Right.
First by another company called Mediametrics.
Right.
But there was one kind of interesting thing that ended up being a bit of a theme in my career that I kind of stumbled into working on ad relevance, and that is that we were providing transparency into an area where there was no transparency
Yeah.
before with data and with analytics. What I hadn't expected was is that when you provide transparency, you might there might be a group of people who don't like that and benefit from there being a lack of transparency.
Yep.
So, the story I always like to tell here is that at the time, Yahoo was the king of the hill, and they had all kinds of pages and all kinds of advertisements from third parties, but also their own advertisements that they would run on their site. And we would crawl around Yahoo, yanking down ads and calculating, the frequency of the ads and what the ads were and so forth. Well, they didn't like this. No, they didn't like it one bit. And so they got mad at us and called us up and said, "We want you to stop doing this." And then we said, "Well, we think we're providing a service to the business and community." And they were like, "No, really, we want you to stop doing this." And we got a cease and desist letter, and then they tried to shut off our crawling technology, but we just sort of went around it. But it was sort of a first lesson to me that when you're democratizing information and providing transparency into new areas, that you're onto something when you're pissing somebody off, when you find you're pissing somebody off.